So
I would like to call to order the regular city council meeting closed session. The time is 5:34 p.m. City Clerk Duarte, will you please call the roll?
You go first.
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Frometa is excused. Councilmember Ortiz.
present.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Sosa.
Present.
And Mayor Trujillo.
Here. Now is the time for public comment. I remind speakers that the public comment period is reserved for comments about the items listed under the closed session agenda. There's an opportunity later in the meeting for general public comment. This is a business meeting and we have business to attend to in the next hour. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the council regarding closed session items. I would like to remind members of the audience that the city's meeting rules contained in the Downey Municipal Code prohibit any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Members of the audience and speakers who violate these rules and cause a disruption will receive one warning and then may be removed from the meeting. Violations of the rules of decorum for council meetings may also result in an administrative fine under the municipal code or citation for a misdemeanor under Penal Code Section 403. City Clerk Duarte, did we receive any written public comment regarding closed session items to be incorporated into the record?
We did not, Mayor.
City Clerk Duarte, how many speakers have taken a number?
We have none, Mayor.
Is there a motion and a second to close public comment?
So moved. Second.
So ordered by the mayor. The city council will now recess to close session under the following authorities. Number one, Government Code Section 54956.95, liability claim, workers' compensation claim. Claimant Jose Barajas, claim number 22-163840. Workers' compensation appeal board number ADJ 17473291, agency claimed against City of Downey. Number two, Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation in RECONVENE, forming foams, product liability litigation, United States District Court for the District of South Carolina, case number MDL2:18- capital MN-2873, capital RMG. Number three, Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D, subsection 1, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Laurel Goodwin versus City of Downey et al., Los Angeles County Superior Court, case number 20 STCV 45245. We will now recess to close session. The time is 5:37. Evening. I will now reconvene the regular council meeting closed session. City Attorney Funk, will you please report the closed session action?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, City Council, and members of the public. In tonight's closed session, the City Council considered all three items listed on the closed session agenda. There was no reportable action from the proceedings. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Before we begin the regular city council meeting open session, I would like to remind members of the audience that anyone wishing to speak during public comment must obtain a number card from the city clerk. If you did not obtain a number and wish to speak, please proceed to the back of the room and city staff will issue you a number card. Lining up during public comment will not be permitted and each speaker should remain in their seat until their number is called. The time clock will begin when you begin your comments. Per the city's council meeting rules and for fire safety regulations, all persons shall remain seated unless addressing the council or entering or leaving the chambers. Standing in the aisles or along the walls is prohibited. There's an overflow seating available in the lobby if needed. If there are no available seats in the chambers, please proceed to sit in the lobby. I will now call to order the regular city council meeting open session. The time is 6:33 p.m. City Clerk Duarte, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Frometa is excused. Councilmember Ortiz.
Present.
Councilmember Pemberton.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Sosa.
Present.
And Mayor Trujillo.
Here. And now to lead us in the invocation, we welcome Pastor Chris Famisaran from the Downey Seventh-day Adventist Church. Welcome, sir. Please stand.
Let us pray. Lord, as we gather together today here at City Hall, we are seeking your wisdom. Lead and guide us as we discuss the many things that are on the agenda. We pray that, Lord, as we discuss the issues, give us wisdom and understanding and clarity to move forward. We pray as well to help us to be faithful stewards in our finances. Lord, be with those who are watching over us, our first responders. Be with the various departments. May we work together and especially be with our families. Amen.
Thank you, sir. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. To lead us in the flag salute tonight, we have Girl Scout Troop 1745. Please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A round of applause for the young ladies. You may take a seat. Now is the time for City Council member announcements, requests for future agenda items, and conference meeting reports. I will start to the left with Councilmember Horacio Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Great to see our chambers with engaged members, so I just want to welcome you all today. My report, I attended the following events: the 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony. I attended the Rancho Los Amigos Hispanic Heritage event. I attended the Citizens Academy. And lastly, the Anne Frank tour at Downey Middle School. And lastly, I want to personally congratulate our new youth commissioners. So welcome, you guys. And with that, I conclude my comments for today.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Sosa.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Glad to see everybody here. I, too, attended the 9/11 Remembrance Ceremony. Thought the staff did a great job and put that together. It's a great ceremony. I also attended, along with my colleague, Councilmember Ortiz, the Rancho Los Amigos Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. It's a pretty cool ceremony. They celebrated all the Latino cultures, and within my household, we have 4 Latino cultures, which is pretty cool. And I also attended FatherCon, which is a great organization. We have a lot of nonprofits to do a lot of great work in the city. I do really appreciate Father Collins. They stress the importance of having a father in the household, and they also raise awareness for human trafficking. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Dorothy Pemberton.
Good evening, everyone. I asked they speak first, so I don't take anything that they went to, but there's a few things I think I'll still mention. Thank you for coming. Welcome, youth commissioners. It's good to see our youth here in our chamber. You are our future. So September is Hispanic Heritage Month, and each year Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th by celebrating the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. I'm happy to report that lights are up on Bluff on the island. Last year, I worked with Public Works, and they showed me how to make a request for lighting. This was an area that was dark that we wanted. They worked with Edison. They put lights on the existing poles, and now they are electrified. So we have a bit more safety. We have a lot more safety. And I'm going to look into getting the alleys, some of the dark alleys, lit like Bluff. This is a way to stop and prevent crime. So thank you, Public Works, on that. I read an article in the recent paper that legislators are looking at Norwalk Metropolitan State Hospital in Norwalk. This is an area where we can have, it's a 160-acre facility, and it's underutilized to serve homelessness, those who have mental and substance abuse issues. And I know our County Supervisor Hahn, our Assembly Member Pacheco, and Senator Archuleta are working together to let the state let them use 7 unused buildings for housing of these types of individuals and get them help. I have on here, Bob lost his head. He had a terrible accident, we all know that, but we're hearing that the statue's head will be fixed. He's iconic here in Downey, so stay tuned on that. It's in my district. I attended the International Food Fair. That was last weekend. It was a great success. Many interesting things to do, interactive things to do. Thank you to Parks and Recs for setting everything up. Jason Chacon, Director, also Public Works. They stay and clean up long after. I liked that they had the food trucks on one side of the street, so you were able to walk down the street, get food, be in line, and it allowed for more patrons to go around. Attended the Vector Mosquito Board meeting. The report is cooler weather mean less mosquitoes. And Downey Symphony had its annual fundraiser last Sunday, and it was a success. Kudos to Pat Gill, conductor Sharon Lavery, and the team. Had a country western band. They rocked the house. But I'd like to say this season they are making their 2 concerts free to the public. So let's support them. Their first concert is going to be on October 12th. It's a Saturday. It's free, 8 p.m., but still give donations to the Downey Theater. Spread the word in the schools and let them come, let the musicians come, anybody in band, and we'd like to fill our theater. It holds 750 people. We have radar and radar speed detectors on streets. Thank you for our chief and getting those out, those trailers, to help calming measures. Our city workers, our city yard workers are unsung heroes. They do a lot for our city. I want to thank them. We appreciate them. And also our fur responders at SIACA. Thank you for what you are doing. Save the dates. Havana Nights is coming up October 4th. Big city celebration there for the Cubans. 6 to 10 p.m. I already talked about Downey Symphony. Gangs Out of Downey on October 7th has a golf tournament. And at that time, I would just conclude my, I'd like to also make a final note. Many of you had known Mark Keller, who was a lifelong resident and worked as a stage manager for the Downey Theater. He passed away unexpectedly, but more of you may know him for being Downey's Santa. He was famous as the Santa during the Christmas parades. He had the natural beard, and so he, as I mentioned, passed unexpectedly, and funeral services were today. Please keep the prayers for the family in your prayers. Keep the prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. I also attended several events, a couple of ribbon cuttings, always welcoming new businesses to Downey and wishing them success. It's a big investment when you open a city in Downey. Please keep your money in Downey. I always make it a goal to drive back into the city to pump my gas, to shop for my groceries, because all that tax money comes back into the community. So please make an effort to support Downey businesses. I was able to go to Washington, D.C. along with our city manager as an advocacy trip, we were lobbying the federal government for $1 million to help us get started with the engineering for the plans of the new train line. We predict that possibly by 2035, we may have a new line that will connect. It starts in Artesia and it goes to downtown LA to Union Station, and it would stop here in Downey. So you would have two trains available, if you will, to connect you to the rest of the county. It was a successful trip. I believe we will get the funds needed. Congratulations to Park and Rec on the success of the International Food and Music Festival. The ceviche component, the ceviche fest was a great start. It was a lot of food. I think people enjoyed it. It keeps that event keeps growing. Congratulations, Jason, to you and your team. I also attended the 9/11 ceremony. It's important that we remember the tragedy that happened when people invaded and attacked us in our own country on September 11th. I hope that everyone remembers that day for entire lifetimes to come. I also attended the Doty Middle School presentation on Anne Frank, another tragic story of how cruel we can be as humans to each other. Congratulations to Doty Middle School on taking on such a, I think, an important part of literature. I know in San Francisco, California, where I went to school, the Diary of Anne Frank was required reading because of what it teaches us. So kudos to Doty Elementary. It was great to see Miss Doty there herself, the namesake of the school, and we got to do the trip together. Revolucion had its first festival. I was able to attend. Congratulations to them. Hopefully that will grow in time. I also had the honor of attending the Great Whittier, the opening of the Great Whittier LGBT Center. They were kind enough to name a room, it's actually a lounge, after me, and they're providing important services to many people who are struggling with their identity. So kudos to them, and thank you to Janice Hahn and Assemblywoman Lisa Calderon for bringing that center to life. I'm not sure if there's anyone from SIACA here to speak to us tonight, but I did do some research, and apparently there's 13 different cities that belong to SIACA. So I hope that just as you are coming here to advocate for your positions from Downey, that you're also visiting the other cities so that your voices can be heard with those other cities. It is a joint power, it's a shared responsibility. So I thought it was important that I say that. I would like to ask staff for a report on the Calvary, what I call the Calvary Chapel lot. It's actually next to Calvary Chapel, between the Calvary Chapel and the 105. I believe that's the largest location where we see homeless encampments in it. That property has been vacant now for way too long. We need to build something there so that we can replace that situation there. So at some point, I would like a report on what is going on with that property and how soon can we build something there. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, just on behalf of the Community Development Department, we are currently have plans under review by the property owner and the applicant, who has a preliminary application into the city for a housing development, and it's actively, we just met on that project actually today, and we will be meeting with the applicant to provide additional feedback to ensure that the project meets our development and fire code requirements. And that project has been moving along fairly well in the last couple of months, so we're happy to provide updates in the future, but that is seems really promising development.
Thank you. I appreciate the quick response. That puts me at ease. It lets me know we're working on it. I hope the community understands that it could be a long process, but we are working on that. Okay, that concludes our comments, and now it's time for city manager and staff member comments.
Thank you, Mayor. For today, I just wanted to echo City Council comments regarding city staff and their efforts, including our PD and fire departments. There's been a number of efforts going on, especially with regards to public engagement related to our general plan, environmental justice sections, consolidated plan, IFF, and beyond the book, and the PD assessment recently. A tremendous amount of work goes into planning these engagement efforts, so I just wanted to thank city staff for all their efforts and the engagement and feedback that we're receiving from the community. Thank you.
Okay, so now we've arrived at one of my favorite parts of the meetings, the Mayor's Excellence Award. One of the perks of being mayors is we get to recognize individuals in our community who we think have made contributions to the city. Tonight, I have the honor of recognizing the VASQUEZ family. I've been very fortunate. I've moved around, not too much, but some in Downey. And in one particular occasion, I moved into Irwin Grove Drive, right off of Paramount. Bought a house, fixed it, moved in with my partner at the time and our kids. And I think it was like the first week, there was a knock at the door. We weren't expecting anyone. And then, almost like a commercial, you open the door and there's a lady there with a plate of cookies. But instead of cookies, she had tamales. So I was like, okay. And she was so nice. She welcomed us to the neighborhood. And that is what Downey is about. I mean, what a nice gesture, right? That a neighbor would still come over and welcome complete strangers to the neighborhood. It just doesn't happen often. And she exemplified for me what it meant to be a good neighbor. And that's why I believe we have great communities. Often people talk about Downey and space and the McDonald's and the first Taco Bell and the Carpenters and Metallica and iCarly and Weird Al Yankovic. But I think it's really the beautiful neighborhoods that make Downey for what it is. And those big houses, right? Those big mansions and little mini mansions. It's those beautiful neighborhoods that I'm walking right now because I'm up for re-election. They're gorgeous. I'm really, really proud to live in this city. It's a clean city. It's a safe city. We have great schools. And then we have great families, like the VASQUEZ family. The VASQUEZ family is being recognized today for their extraordinary legacy and contributions to the community. For over 50 years, Refugio, who unfortunately hurt his back, I hurt my back also, and couldn't be here, and Maria have exemplified perseverance, hard work, and the pursuit of education, inspiring countless others to strive for a better future. Through their sacrifices, they instilled in their children, Carmen, Fernando, and Stephanie, the importance of education and community service. As accomplished professionals and active members of the Downey Noon Kiwanis Club, the VASQUEZ children continue to embody ideals of service, leadership, and dedication to the betterment of society. The VASQUEZ children on their own are impressive. And when you find out that they have a former mayor, VASQUEZ, who I call the prince of the family because he really is the spoiled male son that that Refugio and Maria just simply adored. But they have two fantastic women who are rock stars in and of their own self. First of all, there's the oldest child, Carmen, who I actually got to meet after the tamale incident. I was having a fundraiser for a friend of mine who was running for Senate, and he died. The fundraiser was Saturday. He died Tuesday. We turned it into a fundraiser for Marco Fireball, and I sent it out to a bunch of attorney groups, and she showed up, and she's like, hey, I'm your neighbor, the lady with the tamales. I'm the daughter. And that's Carmen. Today, Carmen is, in of her own right, an amazing municipal law attorney. You're basically the city attorney for several cities. So that's Carmen. Then there's young Stephanie, partner at the law firm of Omlo and Madruga, one of the top municipal law firms. Stephanie couldn't be with us today because she's the city attorney, where Carmen, you're Gardena, and Stephanie is where? Bell Gardens, right? But we have our former mayor here, like I said, Fernando Vasquez, who's an entrepreneur. I have personally learned so much from who I met as a young man to this formidable pillar in the community, just like our former mayors, and his beautiful and amazing wife, my comadre, Donna Nushkam. The family has extended. Stephanie is married. Eddie Ramirez, who couldn't be with us, prior military man, thank you for your service. And then there's Donald Cuevas Androsek. I love that last name. It's so cool. And they're all Kiwanians. So you have a family of Kiwanians who are just very much about giving back to the community. So as I was searching on who to honor, I wanted to honor the Vasquez family, an example of the great families that exist in their city. We really are fortunate to have you all for your continued service. We know that a family like yours can live in Naples, probably in Long Beach on the west side or Beverly Hills, but you stay here and it means a lot to us. You are pillars in the community in my eyes, y por eso quiero invitar a la señora María a ver si me puede acompañar. Le quiero dar las gracias por su seña de cariño que me dio cuando yo fui a esa vecindad. I'm basically translating everything I said, all right? Lo que usted hizo, véngase acá. Para mí me enseñó lo que es ser un vecino en Downey. Le quiero agradecer como alcalde y quiero reconocerla como ejemplo de la gran persona que es usted y la educación y lo que ha hecho con sus hijos. Este honor, aunque es para todos, es más para usted, sinceramente. Siempre voy a recordar eso y le quiero dar las gracias por todo.
Gracias.
Yeah. So let's have the family come up here. The Vasquez family, come on up here. They're being recognized today for their extraordinary legacy and contributions to the community for over 50 years. No quiere venir? Ethan, come on up, man. And now they have young Ethan. Vente. Carmen, you should have brought your doggy. I should have brought your doggy. Refugio and Maria and their children have exemplified perseverance, hard work, and the pursuit of education, inspiring countless others to strive for a better future. Through their sacrifices, they instilled in their children, Carmen, Fernando, and Stephanie, the importance of education and community service. As accomplished professionals and active members of the Downey Kiwanis Club, the Vasquez children continue to embody ideals of service, leadership, and dedication to the betterment of society. This award honors your family's enduring impact and commitment to creating opportunities for future generations. Muchísimas gracias por todo. All right. ¿Quieres decir unas palabras? Diga algo. No le dé pena. El micrófono es de usted. Ándale, yo la llevo.
Muchas gracias por invitarme a este evento que yo nunca olvidaré a Mario, que fue muy buen vecino y lo quiero mucho y nunca lo vamos a olvidar.
Muchísimas gracias. Papa, you want to say something? Former Mayor Vasquez is going to grace us with a few words.
I promised my family I wasn't going to do a public service announcement here. I think it's been quite a couple years since I stepped back in these chambers, and it's fitting that I get to be here, flagged by my family and my wife, my son, and my parents, and my sister and my brother-in-law. You know, this award really goes out to what we call the Downey DNA. It exemplifies the hard work and commitment of our community. You see city staff, council members up here, the work they do day in and day out. It really goes to the job that they believe in. You know, oftentimes you get accused of all sorts of things, and I always remind them, trust me, it's not worth the $800 you make a month for all the amount of time they put in, their families also along this journey. But really this award, as I see the Downey Youth Commission here, when we started that years back, I hope that one day you're up there too, leading this city into the next generation. We talk about the Gen Zs and millennials, how they're finally waking up and getting involved in politics. It starts at the local level. I hope that one day one of you become a city manager, be director of economic development, or be a city attorney or police chief, because everything can be done. If my parents did it as immigrants with a first grade level of education, and my wife also who immigrated here, was also an attorney, you can do it too. You will have many doubters in life, and that's okay, as long as you believe in yourself and you seek guidance and advice to guide you along the right way. And right behind you have a lot of pillar of community leaders out there. You have Kiwanians, you have school board members, folks who really care about our community and our city. And you're seeing that right now through the Downey YMCA. The campaign they have going on right now is because these people believe in the work they're doing for our community, because they're investing in you. And to our local residents who are making an impact in our health and wellness foundation, also in our community, thank you for all the work, the Chamber of Commerce, also the work you guys do, and most importantly to this council. Thank you for all the work you guys are doing, you continue to do, and it's no surprise where Downey's on the right direction, and we hope that all of you are successful this November, and you continue to provide our city for my son and his friends better than the way you guys inherited. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
And now, the oldest of the three, Carmen.
I just want to take this moment to actually speak to the Youth Commission. I just want to make sure you're aware of this. My siblings and I, in recognition of my parents and the hard work that my parents did, 2 years ago we created a scholarship for Downey and Warren high school seniors. You can apply for it through the local scholarship. I'm using this as a PSA announcement. I want you to spread the word. All you have to do is fill out that application, and it's for students who are interested in pursuing a career in law and government. Downey has given so much to us, and we want to make sure that we give back to our youth as well. And we've been honored that the last two recipients that we've had, we are still in touch with them. Not only do we offer the financial assistance, but also to serve you as mentors. You may be interested in a career that maybe we're currently practicing, or maybe something else, and we may have that person in our lives who is that we can put you in touch with. So youth commissioners, I encourage you to apply, to consider it. Again, if you're at Downey, go to Ms. Campos. If you're at Warren, go to your college advisor, look into that scholarship. I look forward to interviewing you guys come the springtime, and if it's not you, maybe tell your friends about it. So thank you, and I appreciate you being here.
She doesn't want to speak, but my comadre, Donna Nushka Vasquez, is a saint, man. She's the woman behind the man. Comadre, I think you're amazing. You're awesome. She owns her own law firm today, specializing in the defense of businesses, sometimes small businesses in cases. So congratulations for being awesome. And now let's grab a picture, everybody. Thank you, comadre. All right. Thank you, compa. And now we get to honor a very important group. Let's see. The Downey Foundation for Educational Opportunities Group. As a parent of a child in DUSD, my family has benefited greatly from the services you're providing. So I wanted to honor you and recognizing you for the amazing work you're doing. Truly, you're having an impact on the quality of life of families when you know that your children are safe with an entrusted organization. It makes our day easier when we have to be away from them at work. The Downey Foundation for Educational Opportunities, the DFEO, is a nonprofit organization providing before and after school enrichment programs for TK through 8th grade students in the Downey Unified School District. The Downey Foundation for Educational Opportunities Access Program offers a health-conscious environment that offers leadership, active learning, and social emotional growth. In just 3 years, and I remember when it got started, and it's been amazing, your growth. It just shows the need that this community had. In just 3 years, DFEO's enrollment has expanded from 500 to over 2,000 students, with programs offered at all 17 district schools. They provide multiple programs, including morning, after school, and specialized enrichment classes. In 2023, the DFEO was named Nonprofit of the Year by Senator Bob Archuleta, just 2 years into the work that they're doing. So tonight, I want to invite down Sheila Tatongo Bartoloni, Executive Director and CEO, who will be accepting the award on behalf of the organization. Sheila, in appreciation of all your exceptional dedication and commitment to enriching the lives of students in the Downey Unified School District, through your Access program and various enrichment initiatives, you have empowered over 2,000 students by fostering leadership, active learning, and social emotional growth. Your remarkable efforts in providing equitable and accessible programs have expanded opportunities for students and positively impacted the community. The city commends DFEO for your invaluable service and for preparing our students for future success. On behalf of the city, I thank you for the amazing work you're doing. I appreciate it. All right. Unas palabras, por favor.
Oh, yeah, they're going to come up. They don't want to come up. So I have some of my team members up here that refuse to come up, but we're going to make them come up. So I'd like to thank Mayor Trujillo, the City Council, our partners at DUSD, which I see a few of them here, our community members, our parents, our students, and of course, my DFEO team, many of which are present here, at least management. So like Mayor Trujillo said, in March 2021, we started with 2 of us. And she's going to come up here right now, Laura, because we're going to make you come up. So Laura Hurtado and I started in March of 2021, 2 employees who had to create something from nothing, literally, right, with focus groups and everything. So that summer, we launched our pilot program with, 15 passionate employees and serving 200 students. So fast forward to today, we now have 200 dedicated team members and over 2,000 students, as Mayor Trujillo said. So we continue to be driven by what we see every day in our programs, which is the light bulb that comes up when a student figures something out during enrichment, or the spark that's ignited in their faces when they discover art or music or basketball or football, or soccer. Soccer, football, same thing, right? So simply, the Downey Foundation exists to give our students the opportunities that they would not receive otherwise. So receiving this recognition from you and the City Council means that we're doing something right and fuels our passion even further for preparing our students for success, which is our vision. Thank you once again for celebrating the expansive achievements of our team, and of course, the effect that it's had on our kids. And please, team, come up.
You guys want to stick around for the commissioners? All right, so now we get to make it official. We're going to issue certificates of appointment to our newly appointed youth commissioners. And to assist us in the presentation, we have Alejandra Garcia, Recreation Supervisor. Thank you. All right. Go ahead, Alejandra, what are we doing?
Thank you, Mayor. So my name's Alejandra Garcia. I'm a recreation supervisor, but I also serve as a staff liaison for the Youth Commission. The Youth Commission is comprised of 15 students that live in Downey, and they are high school students, 9 through 12. And before me, I have 8 that are going to be newly appointed today, and they were going to work alongside their 7 other colleagues to put together an annual student government day that is held here in City Hall, and it's an opportunity for our youth to learn about local government, how they can get involved, and how important it is to be involved and be in the know of what's going on in your city. So I'm excited for all that they will accomplish this year, and I look forward to recognizing them. You guys go ahead and stand up and join me up here, please. All right, first we have Olivia Haddad.
All right, Olivia.
Savannah Chavez Kern.
Savannah.
Daniel Perez. Megan Barajas. Berlin Soto. Isabella Lopez Udiel. Dominic Saab. And June Vandermoos Vaspike.
All right, well, congratulations. We look forward to hearing your ideas. We very much want to hear from you. You are going to help us build the Downey for the future, for your generation. So never be afraid to speak up. There's no such thing as a dumb idea. We want to hear everything, your observations, and we really appreciate the amount of work you're putting in. I just want to point out young Dominic Saab. His dad is a former mayor. It's so awesome to see you here following in your dad's legacy, and all of you. We have an open door policy. We want you to consider running for council someday and being the mayor of the city someday. That's what it's all about. Good luck, and thank you for being here. Let's get together for a group picture, everyone. I forgot your pins. All right, your pins. Pasa uno. All right. Gracias. Your official pin. Am I missing anybody? All right, let's. Gracias. All right, picture time. How do you want me? All right. Very well. If you came for presentations, this is usually a good time to leave, especially if you have children who you need to put to bed. So there are two public hearing items this evening. The first item is number 1, approval of the amended citizen participation plan, known as CPP, for programs funded by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, that the City Council, 1, conduct a public hearing to receive public comments on the draft amendment to the CPP. Number 2, adopt the amended CPP and authorize the city manager or their designee to submit the plan to HUD. And 3, authorize the city manager or their designee to make necessary adjustments to the CPP in response to federal regulations or guidance from HUD. The hour having arrived, the public hearing is now open. The time is 7:09. City Clerk Duarte, do you have proof of publication?
I do, Mayor.
Can I have a motion and a second to receive and file the publication?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Please vote.
The motion is approved unanimously.
Assistant City Manager De Rojas, is there a staff report?
Yes, Mayor, we have Austin Ramirez, Economic Development Director, who will be providing the report today.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for the time tonight. The item before you is an amended citizen participation plan, or CPP for short, for programs funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. For us, those are our home programs and our CDBG programs. A CPP is essentially a foundational document that helps guide the city and ensures that we engage with residents and stakeholders throughout the planning, implementation, and evaluation of our HUD-funded programs. It's ultimately designed to promote transparency, equity, and accessibility. It is also required by HUD and must meet certain criteria. HUD does update this criteria as time goes on, and so as a matter of best practice, the city regularly evaluates our CPP to ensure that it meets federal requirements. A CPP is implemented throughout the year as we implement our CDBG and our home programs, but it's most often referred to and used during the development of key CDBG and home planning documents. The most significant and robust is a 5-year consolidated plan, which we are in the process of developing, and as well as our annual action plan and our annual report, also referred to as a CAPER. You see it implemented in things like public hearing requirements, public review and comment periods, how we make CDBG and home planning documents accessible to the public, and language access planning. This latest amendment includes 3 main updates to ensure that we are aligned with HUD regulations. The first is updating thresholds that trigger what HUD refers to as a substantial amendment to our action plans. That is typically caused by an unexpected event during the program year that results in a change of our action plan that is submitted and approved by HUD. An example of that would be if a public services subrecipient receives funding and then is no longer able to perform those services. The city would then have to provide a substantial amendment reallocating that funding to something like housing rehab, for example. We also created a detailed process for developing a language action plan that is evidence-based and uses local data, and that would also meet federal requirements for HUD. And then with regards to data accessibility, we also have committed to making HUD-provided data publicly accessible on the city's website during the consolidated plan process and throughout the year. If adopted, the amended CPP will be implemented immediately and submitted to HUD for final approval. Development of the 5-year consolidated plan is underway with community engagement opportunities available. So the amended CPP would be put into practice and implementation immediately. I wanted to share some things for any residents who are interested. We have a survey currently for the consolidated plan that's available, as well as 2 community meetings this week on Thursday and Friday, and so would invite any interested parties to either take the survey, join a community meeting, or do both. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone on council have any questions or comments?
I do have one question. Thank you, Austin. What's the outreach on this? Is it social media, door hangers, what?
We do a variety of things depending on the program. So the CPP will guide how we do that outreach. For certain programs like housing rehab, we do door hangers, or we have our consultants go door to door or attend community events. We've also been posting these flyers, for example, on all of our social media platforms using things like Facebook Boost. And also as we engage with housing rehab recipients on a day-to-day basis, we are consistently seeking feedback on our programs.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
You don't anticipate any more outreach? This would be the 2 meetings that you would have?
We'll continue to do outreach. The consolidated plan process takes about a year, so there will be multiple opportunities for public input.
Okay, no more questions. I will now open the item for public comment. City Clerk Duarte, did we receive any written correspondence to be incorporated into the record for this public hearing?
We did not, Mayor.
Okay, members of the audience wishing to address the City Council regarding this public hearing item may come up when your number is called. I will be calling pink number cards for this item. I remind speakers that you have 2 minutes to address the council, and your comments must be regarding this public hearing item only. City Clerk Duarte, how many speakers have taken a card?
We have 2, Mayor.
Speaker number 1, please come forward.
I'll be brief. Residents' participation, I just hope you make it easier as far as accessibility to our private right of participation. Those are the key words. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 2, please come forward.
D. Squire City, Downey, District Number 3. Mayor and City Council, I have 2 questions and I'd like clarification on. I read the complaint process involving the CCP. I noticed how many channels you have to go through. However, I'd like to know in the HUD regulations is also applicable what's also known as a private right of action. This same statement is also used in the enforcement of federal civil rights. Even though you may have internal grievance procedures, I still have a private right of action. I want to know what are my due process rights in addition to what you stated in your complaint procedures. Also, when it comes to the annual accountability of you entitlement cities with your federal HUD and home dollars, there's the CAPER, which is a HUD document, and there's something also known as the Annual Federal Single Audit Act that includes all of your federal programs and also provides additional levels of accountability for your HUD-funded programs. I just wanted you to know that. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion and a second to close the public hearing. The time is 7:16. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Case ordered by the mayor. Unless there are any comments from the council, I will entertain a motion to, a motion and a second to approve staff's recommended actions. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Please vote.
The motion is approved unanimously.
Moving on to public hearing number 2, which is approval of a zone change, site plan review, conditional use permit variance, and lot merger to facilitate the development of a new 18,718 square foot YMCA facility. Plan PLN number 23-00168. This is under our Community Development Department that the City Council, number 1, introduced an ordinance approving a zone change designation from open space OS zone to the commercial office CP zone for the property located at 11531 Downey Avenue. Number 2, that we adopt the resolution number 24-8269, subsection 1, approving a site plan review, 2, conditional use permit, and 3, variance, thereby allowing the construction of an 18,718 square foot YMCA Parks and Recreational Facility and 975 square foot gymnasium addition located at 11521 Downey Avenue and 11531 Downey Avenue and 8268 Arnett Street, PLN-23-00168, and 3, adopt the resolution number 24-8270, approving a lot merger for the consolidation of 3 parcels, PLN 23-00168, for the properties located at 11521 and 11531 Downey Avenue and 8268 Arnett Street, assessor parcel number 6255-013-032, 6255-013-033, and 6255-013-034, period. The hour having arrived, the public hearing is now open. The time is 7:19. City Clerk Duarte, do you have proof of publication?
Excuse me, Mayor. As I'm a board member with the YMCA, I'm going to remove myself from the dais for any neutrality on this issue. Okay.
Thank you, Councilwoman Pemberton. We ask that you retreat to the rear of the chambers. We will call you when we're done with this item. City Clerk Duarte, do you have proof of publication?
Yes, Mayor, I do.
Can I have a motion and a second to receive and file the publication?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
The motion is approved with Councilmember Pemberton abstaining from the item.
Assistant City Manager De Rojas, is there a staff report on this item?
Yes, we have Alfonso Hernandez, Principal Planner, who will provide the staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Hernandez.
Good evening, Mayor Trujillo. Once again, good evening, Mayor Trujillo, City Council members. For your consideration today, we'll be discussing a proposal for a new YMCA facility. Specifically, the application is a request for a zone change, a site plan review, conditional use permit, variance, and lot merger. The site is 11521 and 11531 Downey Avenue and 8268 Arnett Street. The applicant is Rodrigo Abello, a representative of YMCA. Specifically, the application is a request to construct a new 18,718 square foot YMCA facility and the retention of an existing gymnasium with a 975 square foot addition. This is a more in-depth breakdown of those different permits. First is a request again for a zone change to modify the existing zoning from open space OS to commercial office CP. This is to match the appropriate general plan designation for the site. Currently, they are inconsistent. Next is a site plan review to analyze the design of the structures, the layout of the site, and the compliance with the city's municipal code. And next is a conditional use permit to allow the operation of the YMCA facility. Next is a variance to retain 2 legal nonconforming project elements related to setback and height, specifically related to the existing gymnasium. And lastly is a lot merger to consolidate 3 parcels. Here is some background. On the left is an aerial depicting the subject site and nearby uses. To the west of the site are single-family homes. To the south are multifamily homes. To the north is a parking lot also owned by YMCA. And to the east are both single-family homes and offices. The site is a total of 2.16 acres. It is located at the southwest corner of the Downey Avenue and Arnett Street intersection. There are 2 previous uses on site. One is the existing YMCA, and the other is a single-family dwelling. The dwelling will be demolished and is shown on the screen with the yellow arrow. The existing building size for the YMCA is 60,927 square feet. Here is a photo of the existing YMCA. The photo at the top is taken from Downey Avenue. The photo at the bottom taken from Arnett Street. Here's an additional photo also taken from Downey Avenue showing that rear gymnasium outlined in yellow. This structure will remain while the rest of the site will be demolished. Here is the general plan designation on the left. The entire site is designated O for office. Again, that being the general plan. The zoning for the site is shown on the right and holds 2 different zonings on open space and commercial office. The open space being OS and the commercial office being the CP. The open space is inconsistent, once again, with the general plan and is proposed to be changed as part of this permit. The zone change is proposed only for that open space site at 11531 Downey Avenue to change from open space OS to commercial office CP. It is part of this project, again, to make the entire site consistent with the general plan. Here's what the city's zoning map for the site currently looks like to the left, again with the open space, and to the right is the requested amendment. Moving over to the site plan review, here's a rendering of the new YMCA main building from Downey Avenue looking north. Here's a rendering of the corner of the building at the intersection of Downey Avenue and Arnett Street. And here is a rendering facing north towards Arnett Street of the entrance of the YMCA and that rear gymnasium. Once again, the site plan review is specifically for the construction of 18,718 square feet of a new YMCA facility, as well as the retention of an existing 7,625 square feet gymnasium with an addition of 975 square feet. Also a new basement below the main building measuring 2,271 square feet and an exterior 1,640 square feet pickleball court. And here are those elements. In the site plan, the main structure is outlined in blue towards the bottom right of the screen. The red outline at the top represents the existing gymnasium and the addition, and the yellow outline to the bottom left represents that pickleball court. Lastly, there are 2 entrances onto the site, one from Downey Avenue and the other from Arnett Street. Those are identified with the big red arrows on the screen. Here are the development standards for the project. To the far left is the development standard. The left middle is the code requirement. The right middle is the proposal for the project, and the far right is whether the project complies or not. So starting off with the lot size, the minimum requirement is 6,000 square feet. The total site will be 2.16 acres, which is in compliance. The lot coverage requires a maximum of 50%. The proposal is at 28%, which is also in compliance. The floor area ratio is a maximum of 2 or 200%. The proposal is for 28%, 0.28, which is in compliance. Moving over to setbacks, the front setback is required at a minimum of 10 feet. They're proposing exactly 10 feet in compliance with the code. The rear setback is required at 46 feet. The existing gymnasium sits at 13.33 feet. Part of the variance that you'll be hearing in this presentation covers that portion of the project, which wouldn't be in compliance. The interior side, the requirement is 5 feet. The project proposes 185 feet in compliance with the code. The street side is 10 feet. The project proposes exactly 10 feet in compliance with the code. The building height, there's actually two requirements. We missed one on the screen. It's 75 feet maximum, but also what we call a variable height requirement, which ranges as a requirement from 6 feet to 75 feet. And I'll discuss that further with some visuals later on in the presentation. The main structure at 27 feet is in compliance. The rear gymnasium ranges from 25.84 feet in height to 30.66 feet in height, and that is not in compliance. And again, I'll discuss later in the presentation. The parking requirement minimum is 93 spaces. The applicants are proposing 93 standard spaces and 5 compact, which will be in compliance. And lastly, a minimum of 10% of the site must be landscaped, and they are landscaping exactly that 10%. The architectural style is contemporary, and the materials and features are customary of that contemporary style, which is a mix of materials including glazing, metal panels, faux wood tiles, rustic block, and concrete pillars. These features will be found on all 4 sides of the building. Next is on the conditional use permit. The YMCA facility plans to conduct activities such as swimming, sports and teen leadership programs, academic enrichment, water and safety drowning prevention for children, teens, and adults, healthy lifestyle programs, basketball, and pickleball. The YMCA will employ a total of 100 people, 20 full-time and 80 part-time, and at any given moment, there will be 10 employees on site. The hours of operation, jumped a little ahead. The hours of operation will be Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Sunday, 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. Now over to the variance. The project also involves a variance request to deviate from DMC section 9410.12C. The variance refers specifically to the elements of the existing gymnasium. In summary, the code section requires that legal nonconformity structures comply with the current standards if they are to be demolished by 50% or more. Because all parts of that YMCA are connected, the site is proposing roughly 87.5% of demolition. This would mean that the existing legal nonconformities for the gymnasium must be corrected. On the screen, we see both the legal nonconformity and the code requirement side by side. The applicant is requesting to keep a rear setback of 13.3 feet and a height of 25.83 feet. The DMC would require that the building be set back 46 feet and that the height range between 6 feet and 75 feet, depending on the distance away from the property line. We call this distance away the variable height requirement in our DMC. And in this next slide, in just a minute, I'll provide visuals for what that looks like. But first, staff concludes that the variance is a reasonable request due to the unique circumstances related to the construction and structural components of the gymnasium. The gymnasium was constructed as an independent structure and is similar to a detached building from the rest of the site. The gymnasium has independent walls and foundation from the rest of the structure and can reasonably be determined to continue standing on its own structural merits, much as if it were detached from the entire site. If the structure was detached, then the municipal code section that I previously stated would not apply, and the structure could remain without the need for a variance. Therefore, staff concludes that the findings can be made to grant the gymnasium to remain with its current legal nonconformities, such as a detached structure would be allowed to. And here we have those visuals for the legal nonconformities for the building or for that gymnasium, with a 13.33 setback at the rear, represented by the red arrows at the left, and a height of 25.83 feet, represented by the red arrows in the middle. The required setback is 46 feet, as shown at the bottom of the screen with the blue arrows, and the required height varies, represented by the inclined blue line. This is the representation of the city's variable height requirement. For added clarification, this arrow in yellow would be the legal non-conforming part of the building with respect to the height. The last application component is a lot merger. Currently, the property is split into 3 parcels. The lot merger will be consolidated into one to facilitate the placement of the building. And here is what that lot will look like after the merger. Notices were sent to both tenants and property owners located within 500 feet of the subject site. The notice was also published in the Downey Patriot on August 8th. Notices were sent out informing the public of the Planning Commission meeting held on August 21st. On September 12th, notices were sent out informing the public of today's City Council meeting. A separate notice on summarizing the zone change ordinance was also published in the newspaper. During the public comment period, staff received a comment requesting that a red curb be installed along Downey Avenue directly north of the Downey Avenue and Arnett Street intersection. This is so that there's added visibility for vehicles making a left turn northbound. The Public Works Department evaluated the request and found that a red curb can be installed and the location would increase visibility for drivers. And one is scheduled to be installed within a couple of weeks. The project was considered by the Planning Commission on August 21st with a vote of 4-0 and 1 abstained. The Planning Commission adopted resolutions recommending that the City Council adopt various project applications. It is staff's opinion that all findings can be made in a positive manner and recommend that the City Council introduce an ordinance for the proposed zone change and approve a site plan review, conditional use permit, variance, and lot merger for the new YMCA facility. And with that, I conclude my presentation and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Do any members of the council have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Alfonso. I just had a couple of questions. The lot on the northwest corner of Downey Avenue and Arnett, that's all parking lot?
Yes, currently it's extra parking.
Okay. And when is construction supposed to begin?
The breaking ground is scheduled for October of this year.
October this year. And how long is it supposed to last?
I'd have to defer to the, I know it's in our staff report. I'd have to defer to the applicant. I could check really quickly, sorry about that. April 2026.
Thank you.
No question. I think it's a great project. I'm excited. They're gonna start when, on October of this next month?
Correct.
Thank you.
I will now open this item for public comment. City Clerk Duarte, did we receive any written correspondence to be incorporated into the record?
We did not, Mayor.
All right. Members of the audience wishing to address the City Council regarding the public hearing may come up when your number is called. I will be calling yellow number cards. For this item, I remind speakers you have 3 minutes to address the council, and your comments must be regarding the public hearing item only. City Clerk Duarte, how many speakers have taken a number?
3 speakers, Mayor.
Thank you. Speaker number 1, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, fellow council members and staff. My name's Edith Florence. I'm here to comment on the new YMCA facility. My family and I live behind the YMCA. We were members before it closed during the pandemic, and we were often there taking classes and enjoying the facilities. We're excited about the new facility and are anxious to become members again. I was the community member that had a concern regarding the red curb along the front, and I can see that it's already been addressed. So I wanted to take an opportunity to thank your staff for being responsive, returning my call, and having a follow-up, sending me an email. Your principal civil engineer, Tim, also confirmed that the work order had been placed for the curb. I think in general, it's going to help the community provide additional public safety, because as you're coming out of Arnett and trying to make a right or a left, it's very hard to see if there's cars parked along the front. So thank you again for being responsive to the request.
Thank you. Speaker number 2, please come forward.
Well, it's good to see the YMCA, the old Downey YMCA, or Ron Kohler YMCA, is coming back. I was a pillar of the community. I had my kids go through it. Well worth it, what it was. I just hope it doesn't turn into something that the city's direction is going into right now. It is the wrong direction. I hope there's, by approval of these variances and modifications that the YMCA will not be required in any way because of the donations from the city and these procedures to let it go be built, that we continue the YMCA to have a healthy living values that they have always been noted for. There should not be any strings attached where government reaches out and wants to have restrictions on them as far as DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusivity, either through admissions or through hiring practices, that they can hire the best people possible. CRT, no CRT, critical race theory. No SEL, social emotional learning, and no LGBTQ safe spaces. These are unhealthy living values. These are Marxist values that should not be allowed anywhere in this country and in the city of Downey. Keep your hands out of their business. Let the YMCA be what they always have been. We need to go back to where they were and do the positive things that they've done. Stay away from the other stuff. Thank you.
Speaker number 3, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening. I came here actually to ask about the tour de sewer, but I noticed we're talking about the YMCA, which is also very important. And so I am becoming informed right now that we have all the funding, but we used to have a tour de sewer fundraiser. I don't know who sponsored it, but I thought that would be a great thing to take up again, and maybe with the funds going to the YMCA. In my memory, the YMCA is inclusive. It was a place where my children learned to swim, and many children in the community played basketball. I hope the parking situation is going to be okay, because that's what I remember was a nightmare. But first and foremost, the basis of the YMCA is that it is a place for everybody, and there will be, I hope, no feelings of exclusions or control, because that defeats the purpose. It should be a place for everybody. So that's all. I would like to find out about the tour de sewer, though,
Yes.
as a note. I don't
Me
know.
too. Does anyone on staff, and I can't have back and forth, but is anyone on staff familiar with tour de sewer? I want to know what it is.
It was 30 years ago.
Mayor Pro Tem, have you ever heard of it? No.
Nobody
I'm going to look into it.
Thank you.
If we can get her information, I'm going to look and see what it was, and if it's something we want to come back. Austin, can you get her information for me? And then we'll look into it. Thank you for coming.
Great, thank you.
I think that's speaker number 3. I will entertain a motion and a second to close this public hearing. The time is 7:39. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. So ordered by the mayor. Unless there are any comments from council, I will entertain a motion and a second to approve staff's recommended actions. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommended actions towards the YMCA.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Please vote.
The motion is approved with Councilmember Pemberton abstaining from the item.
Thank you. Can someone get Dorothy? Horacio, can you let her know? Thank you. Okay, so now is the time for public comment on agenda, consent calendar, and non-agenda items. I will now take public comment. If you did not receive a number card and wish to speak, please proceed to the back of the room to be issued a blue number card. Before we begin, I want to remind members of the audience about the city's meeting rules contained in the municipal code that prohibit any conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Copies of the rules are located in the back. Members who violate these rules and cause a disruption will receive one warning, then may be removed. It could also result in administrative fines under the municipal code or a misdemeanor under the penal code. The City Council acknowledges the right of the public to address issues that are within the city's jurisdiction and invites the public to do so during the council meeting However, the right must be balanced with the need of the City Council to conduct public business in a fair and efficient manner, free from disruption or disturbance. We expect that everyone who participates in today's meeting, from the members of the council here on the dais, to staff, to the members of the public in attendance, do so with respect and dignity. Please refrain from using profanity, name-calling, or behaving in a way that disrupts this meeting. That includes yelling, whistling, booing, screaming, and any other outburst that disrupts or disturbs the meeting. Any conduct that interferes with or disrupts persons who are addressing the City Council. Any conduct that interferes with or disrupts council members while they are speaking. And any other conduct that disrupts, disturbs, or interferes with the orderly conduct of the meeting. Attacks of a personal nature on city staff or city council members that have no connection to agenda items or non-agenda items. I remind speakers that your comments must be addressed to me directly and not to any other council member, city staff, or the audience. City Clerk Duarte, did we receive any written public comment to be incorporated into the record?
Yes, Mayor, we have one written public comment in opposition of the agreement approval with the Downey Patriot for legal ad publications. We have 17 written comments for a vote of no on a ceasefire resolution, and one written comment for a ceasefire resolution. And that is all, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second to receive and file written public comment?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
The motion is approved unanimously.
In-person public comment. How many speakers have taken a number?
We have 7, Mayor.
Based on the number of speakers, each speaker will have 2 minutes to address the City Council. I remind all speakers you must remain seated until your number is called. Speaker number 1, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening. On September 14th, there was a meeting, a community meeting, in which the chief and the city manager were in attendance and they answered several questions. I would like to know when this report and recommendation will be available to the general public. Also, in relation to Measure D, as stated to the city manager, this measure was written very poorly and very misleading to the residents of Downey. The residents deserve specifics in regards to what these funds will be used for, as this is a general tax and see how they can be used. And it seems that the city can use them whichever way they want. I would like to request this report and an email sent out by the city manager that has better language and specifics what these funds will be used for. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 2, please come forward. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. What a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. Therefore, my vote is a no on Measure D. First and foremost, congratulations to our new police commissioner. A big thank you to all the men and women of our Downey PD and fire department, first responders for everything that they do. In the last year and a half, no one has fought harder for our police department than me. I want you to know that going against Measure D is a continuation of that fight for our police department. Before I talk to you as to why we should vote no on Measure D, let me start by talking about Measure S. According to an Instagram post from the Downey Police Officers Association, quote, unfortunately, Measure S failed to meet the promised expectations to improve police service. We are still understaffed and poorly equipped, end quote. Measure S promised an addition 0.5% sales tax that was desperately needed. According to an op-ed signed by the Downey Police and Fire Management Association, Measure S was being pushed, the crime rates in California and LA County have increased dramatically. Measure S will help keep Downey safe by deploying additional police officers to help patrol Downey streets. Sounds familiar? Same argument that is being used today for Measure D. In addition, Measure S was to include strict fiscal accountability provisions to ensure funds were used wisely. There was an oversight committee that was formed. Per the first minutes of the first meeting of the Oversight Committee, that committee agreed to meet quarterly. A few weeks ago, we had an individual come up and speak and applaud himself and the committee for its transparency and hard work. I'm not sure how accurate that is, as I am saddened to say that the committee had not met since 2022. Coincidentally, the committee met in August, right after the council voted to put Measure D on the ballot, somewhat suspect since I requested the minutes of this meeting last week and have yet to receive them. Furthermore, the committee was so transparent that it had not done a financial audit for 4 years. Real transparency. Now let's tie it all together. Part of the argument for additional sales tax, which by the way will be a total 0.5% increase if Measure A passes on the county level, is because crime has been on the rise for the last 5 years in Downey. Unlike Measure S, Measure D has no oversight committee.
Thank you, Mr. Baye.
I was receiving an acceptance speech. I was gone in 3 minutes.
Speaker number 3.
Members of the public are reminded that any disruption during the public comment period, including speaking out or shouting out from your seat, will result in a removal through the office of the mayor. Mr. Martinez, that's your first warning for disruptive behavior. Any future disruptive behavior may subject you to removal from the meeting. Thank you.
Speaker number 3.
Okay, so apparently we got Measure D is being pushed on us, another tax that we're getting our money's worth, I guess, huh? No, we got to have it or we're going to lose our police department. That's what the fear tactic is going on here. Fact is, we have Measure S, which is still in place. No matter how much of a $50 million bond you take out, Measure S brings in $10 million a year. $50 million is only 5 years. How long is Measure S in play for? Till 2036. So why do we need Measure D? Have you lived up to your promises of doing what you were supposed to do with the $50 million, which you had to spend in 3 years? I mean, if you drive south of Firestone, you can tell Downey Avenue, right in front of the YMCA, by the way, that road is terrible. You didn't fix the roads. Go down Lakewood Boulevard to the promenade, that road is terrible. You didn't fix the roads. Public safety, has crime gone up? Has crime been reduced? No, it's gone up. You didn't fulfill your promise there. You haven't been transparent about where the money has gone, how much has been spent. Why should we support Measure D? There's no reason to. You still have Measure S. We have enough taxation. We don't need any more. It's not necessary, and you're not trustworthy to handle the funds properly. You've proven that. You've proven that. Now stop giving money to all your friends and your little groups and your nonprofits and spend your own money on those things. No more taxation. No more. We have Measure S. We don't need Measure D.
Speaker number 4, please come forward. Good evening.
Mayor, members of the City Council, the Assistant City Manager, and staff, good evening. November is around the corner, and that means elections coming up. There's many strange things happening already, at least on a national level. Former Vice President Dick Cheney, a Republican, has indicated he's going to vote for Harris. His daughter, Liz Cheney, former Congresswoman from the great state of Wyoming, has indicated she will also vote for Harris. On the other side of the spectrum, you have Alan Dershowitz, a well-known attorney throughout the country, and he has indicated he is going to quit the Democratic Party. Also, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a well-known Democrat, part of the Democratic Party, has indicated he is going to endorse Trump. Amazing how things change. Now, with the new election cycle coming up, there's a lot of negativity. And one of the ways to counteract that negativity is to provide love, more love in the world. I would suggest that all of us here surprise someone and tell them we love them. Now, I love everybody in this room. except for one or two. This ends my comments. I yield my remaining time back to you.
Thank you. Speaker number 5, please come forward.
Lee Squire, son, nephew, World War II, nephew, Korea, Vietnam era veteran, Downey High School graduate. Mayor and council, 9/11 event. I attended this event and I noticed that the fire chief was making comments, but I do not remember the police chief being allowed to make comments on his fallen at 9/11. I am requesting that next year that there be a spokesperson for both the firefighters and police and law enforcement. They have a right to honor their own that were lost on 9/11. I also did not see the red line American flag for the firefighters and the blue line flag for the Downey law enforcement and for the fallen at 9/11. Also in 9/11, it triggered a 20-year war on terrorism that cost the lives of my brothers and sisters in the military. The second item is your mobile, it says it is the mobile Vietnam Memorial Wall, not memorial. You left out the word wall from this agenda item. I have spoken with many youth of this generation, and most don't even know what the Vietnam War Memorial is. It is in fact a wall in Washington, D.C. with 58,479 who were killed in Vietnam. I support having the mobile Vietnam Memorial Wall in the city of Downey. God bless America, God bless the nation of Israel, God bless the military and veterans and their families, and God bless law enforcement and families across America. Thank you.
Thank you. Speaker number 6. Speaker number 6.
Well, since we only have 2 minutes now, I have to speed read through my comments. My name's Ron Bourne. I'm a resident of District 2 and a combat veteran who served 2 combat tours. I've seen plenty of destruction, injury, and death, and I don't say this to brag, but to stress I'll be joining forces with my brother Lee Squire to serve as a voice for those who were not able to return from war. As many of you know, there is a homeless problem in this city, and many of them are probably vets. I have compassion for them, but the answer is not to let them roam our city, creating shelters and leaving trash in their wake. The solution is get them off the streets and the help they need. District 2 has a particularly bad problem, although the city has one throughout the city, but 2 is particularly bad, especially in the Imperial Highway Paramount Boulevard corridor. And those pictures will show some of what I'm talking about. I don't know if she's handed them out yet. I've been fighting this battle ever since I moved into my current home almost 10 years ago, but the last 3 years have been the worst, and it's been a constant battle, and it happens to coincide with the expansion of Los Amigos. We were told by Janice Hahn that this would not increase the homeless. That's not true. There are a couple individuals who are repeat offenders because they know the game. Code enforcement and DPD goes out, clears them out, they wait a couple days, and they return back to the same place. How many times does someone have to do this before there are any consequences? We have the law and the governor on our side finally, so let me ask the council, since 3 of you live in the north side of the city, do you even care about the south side of the city? We have funding. Last thing I heard is the city has a surplus of $33 million. Let's use some of that surplus to help out. And let's quit giving money to the nonprofits like Lakota, Stay Gallery, and Downey Patriot. Lakota even admitted at a recent council meeting in San Fe Springs that they're not effective at reducing homeless, so let's quit giving them money.
Speaker number 7, please come forward. Speaker number 7.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Martinez. I am the delegate of the 64th District. I represent 8 cities, including the city of Downey. I want to start off by calling out the mayor's decision to give only 2 minutes to the public today. With 7 speakers, it only adds up to about 14 minutes. Given that we've been allotted 30 minutes, it is unethical, in my opinion, for you to deprive the public the rest of their time to address you. So that's shame on you. I want to give you a little bit of a report about some of the work that I did today. This past month, I had to do endorsements for people who apply for the Democratic Party. Some of those were Mariana Pacheco, which is our assembly member's mother, Dorothy Pemberton, Horacio Ortiz, and Mr. Trujillo. I was able to pull Dorothy Pemberton's endorsement completely by letting the delegacy know that she is a Republican masking as a Democrat. I was able to pull Mario Trujillo's endorsement on the floor, but due to his connections and corruption, he was able to regain his status as an endorsed candidate. However, in that particular endorsement process, he did concede that if I, on record, can get a third person to vote yes on a permanent ceasefire in Gaza, that he would second it and that he would vote for it. Now, I don't know if he was lying or just saying it for at the moment, but he is on record saying that. So I will hold him account to it. I will try to search for that third vote, and if it does happen and he doesn't vote for it, well, that will just say more about what type of character he is. I do want to say that I do not recognize John Funk's ability to give warnings to the public. It is unethical. He is not an appointed individual to give warnings to the public. I see that as a violation, and particularly he's here to give an opinion, not act as a member of the body. So again, I will continue to bring that up. God bless Palestine.
Speaker number 8, please come forward. Speaker number 8. How many are we up to?
Hello. My name is Joaquin Beltran. I'm running for Downey City Council against our mayor here, who has taken no action after nearly a year of a genocide being committed against Palestinians. Today, I condemn the execution of an innocent man, Marcellus Williams. This is a policy failure. This is an indictment on the corruption and the soullessness of the people we have leading our cities, our states, our country. We need to have better people in elected positions, including here in Downey. I condemn Israel's use of pagers to murder people in Lebanon.
Mr. Speaker, just a friendly reminder, under the city's rules of decorum, all comments should be addressed to the mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Can I get my time back?
Yes, of course.
Thank you so much. I condemn the use of pagers, which is an act of terrorism. And I condemn the over 500 that have been murdered in a single day in Lebanon from the terrorist attack by Israel. I condemn the genocide in Palestine. Some estimates put it between 300,000 to 500,000 murdered so far. I condemn Mayor Trujillo's inaction and lack of representation of our communities here of Palestinians, of Arabs, of Jews, of Christians, who are all calling for a ceasefire. We need better people in elected positions everywhere. I encourage people to run I encourage people to run for office.
Mr. Beltran, just once again, a friendly reminder that comments under the rules of decorum must be addressed to the city's mayor. Thank you.
Power hungry. Can I get my time back?
No. Talk to me.
Support my campaign, and let's remove Mario Trujillo, and let's get better people in elected office. Free Palestine.
Okay, so let's see. Is there a motion and a second to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
So ordered by the mayor. Now is the time for...
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! I'm gonna write you up for violations.
Mr. Speakers, please remove them from the chamber. Thank you.
Now's the time for consent calendar items. Are there any council members that would like to remove or abstain from an item? For the record, item number 9 was pulled from the agenda, and I am recusing myself from item number 15, approval of the street closure request, because of a conflict I have because of some property that I own near that location. Anyone else on any items? All right.
Yeah, Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 11 for discussion.
Item number 11, okay, approval of professional services agreement. We will pull that item very well. So we pulled number 9, tabled number 9, pulled number 11, and I'm recusing myself on 15. With that said, is there a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote.
The consent calendar is approved with item number 9 being tabled to a future meeting, Mayor Trujillo abstaining from item number 15, and item number 11 being pulled by Mayor Pro Tem Sosa for separate discussion.
Thank you. We will now address the item that's been pulled from the consent calendar, item number 11, approval of a professional service agreement with JONCOWEST for citywide bus stop cleaning and maintenance services. This is under the purview of the Public Works Department. That the City Council, 1, approve a professional service agreement with JONCOWEST in the amount of $90,300 annually for 2 years, commencing October 1st of 2024, with an option to renew for 3 additional one-year periods for citywide bus stop cleaning and maintenance services. Number 2, authorize the mayor to execute the agreement. And number 3, authorize the city manager to execute all amendments to the agreement. City manager, is there a staff report on item number 11?
Our Public Works Department can provide some background regarding this item and then answer any questions that related to it for the item that council members Sosa had pulled.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm happy to provide some background information on this particular item. As this particular contract was coming up to the end of its period, we did put this out for an RFP. We published that RFP through our Planet Bid digital platform for requesting proposals. Staff received 11 proposals, which we had a team of comprised of our superintendent of facilities and maintenance, our assistant superintendent, and our facilities supervisor, who reviewed the 11 proposals that were submitted. These services include providing weekly cleaning of 157 bus stops throughout the city. This includes changing out the trash, cleaning the bus benches and shelters, removing any graffiti, stickers, and any grime that develops at these shelters. On a monthly basis, the 157 stops are pressure washed and steam cleaned to remove any of the grime that has developed over that month. Staff identified 72 heavily used locations through major corridors where we requested that an additional trip to come out and do the pressure washing and steam cleaning to be done. So these are the scope of services that we asked any interested proposers to submit a proposal on. We received 11. Our staff, our committee reviewed the proposals and ranked those proposals. We found that the top 5 in particular had provided solid proposals that were responsive and had demonstrated experience level and expertise of the firm, qualifications and experience of key personnel, demonstrated an understanding of the purpose of the work, the requirements of the work, the availability of the firm and staff to complete the scope of services, having the necessary equipment to do the work. We checked their references and make sure that they were providing similar services at other agencies throughout Southern California. And then also finally, we looked at their proposed fee. In doing this, we found the top 5 firms did meet that and the qualifications quite nicely, and really where they were distinguished is on price. JONCOWEST did provide the lowest bid, as well as scored very highly across all categories. And when an additional step that we take in evaluating any proposals, especially when we look at the lowest bidder, is we look and see if it's reasonable to be able to complete the work with the price that they are proposing. And staff did look at the scope of services that I did mention on this particular project on an annual basis and determined that it would be reasonable with the number of hours to complete that work, to do that within the costs that they're providing. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions on our process or anything else you might have.
Okay, council members, any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Director Baumgartner. I do have a few questions. So when I look through the agenda, I like to look at numbers, and some numbers stood out to me. So I pulled the item for clarification, because I did see a wide range of bids, anywhere from 90K to over $1 million. So that's a red flag to me. I have to ask, was there a clear instruction in the RFP process? Because that's a wide range.
Yeah, I believe there was one bidder that was pretty far out there, and usually what happens there is somebody's made a math error on their submittal, especially when it's off by so much. I think looking at the remainder of the other 10 proposers, they were in a much tighter range. I will give you an example. It's pretty typical to see a range on these types of services. And a good example is earlier in the year, the city advertised for painting of the parking structure. And the range on those were anywhere from $60,000 to over $600,000. So that does make you look at, like, okay, why is that the case? Sometimes we can't speak to the higher bidders as to why they might, have higher overhead. They may have not understood everything. But when I look at predominantly when they're able to, the majority of them are able to come in within a certain range, that speaks to the fact that most people understand the proposal that's been put out there. Again, looking at the parking structure as a good example, we did have a pretty high range of a lot of qualified contractors. We ended up moving forward with the lowest bidder on that one, $60,000. They were qualified. They were able to do the work within that scope. Similar analysis on this one here. We find that the $90,000 on an annual basis is plenty to cover the type of work that needs to be done.
Okay, thank you. That was my next question. I just want to make sure, because I know our current provider has been with us for a few years, and I understand that their services have been satisfactory. No complaints.
That is correct. We find them to provide satisfactory services.
And there are a lot of residents in our city who do rely on public transportation, so the cleanliness of these bus stops is really crucial. It's important. So I just want to make sure that they do have the proper credentials, the D38 licensing for the sandblasting and the pressure wash.
Yeah, and they do have the experience providing pressure washing and cleaning services at other cities and agencies in Southern California, including City of Santa Barbara and the City of Pasadena, which brackets our population size. Santa Barbara is about 90,000 residents, and Pasadena is, I want to say, about 130,000. So we kind of fall right in the middle of that, and they do provide these services. We checked with those agencies and found that they were doing a satisfactory job there.
Okay, so they have a track record of sandblasting and pressure washing?
That's correct. They have, and they provided us with all the equipment that they use. They're familiar with traffic control procedures. They know very well how to do this type of work at other cities.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I do have a couple questions. Since when have we been using our current provider?
They started in 2014.
2014? And
That's
since
correct.
then, have we had any complaints with our?
I can't say that we really have had any complaints with the work. No.
And right now they're in rank number 4?
They are ranked number 4.
I mean, working in business, I've always cared for continuing the same services that we've been having throughout the years. The only reason we're just changing to this new business is just because it's more cost effective.
I think we found that the top 5 firms were all had the qualified experience. So when I'm left with looking at a price differential of about $50,000 a year, I think it's important to, and it is part of one of the criteria that we look at. So I think if all things being equal and all the other items, price is the last thing that we're looking at. I think $50,000 saving on an annual basis is something to consider in our recommendation, yes.
And in the other services, other cities they're providing, they're also doing bus stops, correct?
They have done bus stops and just general pressure washing on city sidewalks and cleaning services they have. And they are also our current janitorial company. They do janitorial cleaning services as well.
Thank you. I think that concludes some of my questioning.
I have a couple questions. A simple Google check just brought up 2 cases. Is the staff aware that this company, JONCOWEST, might be involved in 2 lawsuits, one of them being a class action lawsuit dealing with labor disputes? Did that come up in due diligence? Do we run companies to see if they have lawsuits?
We typically do look at that. I did not see that come up in our analysis, no.
Yeah, a simple Google search brings up Ante versus JONCOWEST. It's a class action lawsuit filed in '24, and then Maria Robles versus JONCOWEST. So that brings me some grave concern. Their website talks about janitorial services, but it's unclear whether they have experience doing bus stops. It looks like they've limited services, janitorial services. And while I realize that this is the lowest bidder, I share Mayor Pro Tem's concern that, they're coming in 90,000. I would guesstimate that the current company probably bid that years ago. I have concerns about this recommendation based on this information. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I would just say in reviewing this myself, they have been our contractor for 10 years. I like that we have gone out and we had gotten competitive bids to see exactly where we stand and where the current company is. That vendor is the 4th lowest, but the 1st lowest, and saving $50,000 to me is a lot of savings that we can probably use in other areas. They've looked them up. They've had history of being a good company, comprehensive, and proposal came through. So for me, I think this is maybe a good opportunity to have a lower costing vendor. If they have done the work, if the Public Works has done that research already, they feel confident with them. And I feel what they've done the research that I would be inclined to go with their recommendation. So.
I just have concerns. If staff did the research, why did they notify us that this company is involved in 2 lawsuits? And as far as being the lowest bidder, it sounds to me like this is starting to grow. They're doing janitorial services, but I'm not comfortable getting into this contract just because it's the lowest one. We have a reputable company. I've known of this company for years. They also do our our street sweeping, I believe. And according to the bids, they came in, what place did they come in?
4.
Nationwide, I'm asking about.
Number 4.
They were ranked 4th.
Okay. But that is a wide range. Is there any other questions by any other council members?
Well, there's 2 other companies in that mix too, within that top 4. So, and that is a ranking order, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you.
Any motions?
given that information, does staff have any recommendations that our mayor just asked?
Do we want to take a recess on this for you all to research these lawsuits? I'm convinced it's them. Labor disputes.
Mayor, if I may, we're just doing a quick search of also of other organizations. I believe there's also lawsuits pending for some of the others. So if you would like staff to research all of the different lawsuits pending, we can share that with the city council.
Yeah.
I would just note, though, that if you would like to share, Matt, I believe the current contract right now expires at the end of the month.
It does, yes, that's correct.
So how would that work regarding the contract? Would it have to go month to month, or would it?
We would reach out to NES and go month to month until we're able to make a determination on this.
If I could ask on the issue of experience, did they note their experience on their RFP? Because it's not noted in their website. Where do we get that they have experience specifically in bus stop cleaning?
Within their RFP, and then also in following up with the firm itself, they provided us with additional information that spoke to that experience.
Do we know what cities are servicing for bus stop washing?
That is the city of Santa Barbara and city of Pasadena.
Okay. Do they have to have a valid contractor's license?
Yes, they do.
Do we know what the number is of their license?
I don't have access to that in front of me now.
I'd like to know what the status is of their license. I don't know how we can get that information. There's too many concerns here for me on this company. I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to see if the council would rather bid this award to somebody else. So first, do you need a motion turning down the staff recommendation, or to make my motion for the company that I believe we should consider?
Mayor, the recommendation by staff is reflected on the agenda memo itself. If the council wishes to make a different motion or move for a different course of action, that's within the purview of the council. The recommendation, however, is on the agenda memo.
Okay.
So maybe staff comes back with the additional information, and there'd have to be a temporary agreement, right, to continue the services for another week or two until the next council meeting? Is that correct? Is that even feasible, possible?
I would defer that question to Matt if he knows. He may or may not know for that matter, but my understanding from him and the discussion tonight is that the contract does expire at the end of the month, so there does appear to be some time sensitivity.
That is correct. There's no provision in there currently to allow for that going beyond.
So that if we don't agree today and they don't agree to extending that contract, that means they won't clean our bus stops for the next month?
I would have to reach out to NES and speak to them about that. I'm sure we could probably come to some arrangement with them.
Can I ask, if we've had contracts that are getting ready to expire, should they be presented here to council at least 30 to 60 days before they're expiring? So if we do have questions or concerns like we do now, that we're not stuck in a situation where we might not be making the best decision, that we at least have time to review it, and so do you. I think it should be something that we have at least 30 to 60 days before the expiration of a contract. I'm surprised to see it's like in a week. So it's just my comments here.
We think we can work out an extension with the current vendor from month to month in the meantime as we come back and provide the additional information requested.
Yeah, I pulled this because I had questions on the numbers because they stood out, and apparently, obviously, the other council members had questions in regards to that too. So, I believe if staff comes back with some additional information, right, then we can look at some type of temporary agreement since it's coming up on the 30th.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
So we can do it, look into the temporary agreement, come back with the references as well from all the cities that they have worked with, so see where they're at in compliance and satisfactory with them, as well as any of the lawsuits as mentioned. It seems like multiple maybe, possibly could be in one.
On the first four, right?
That would be up to city council direction.
I didn't, what
On
did,
on just the top 4 vendors?
well, Director Baumgartner did state that it was what, the top, was it the top 4 or top 5 that all were pretty close to each other?
The top 5, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it would be the top 5.
Top 5.
If council is amenable to staff's recommendation, I would just advise that it be very clear that it leaves staff with a appropriate direction, for future actions, and that it sounds, or what I'm hearing is that the council may wish to continue this item subject to the collection of the additional information from at least some of the vendors, but I would just respectfully advise that that direction be clear so that staff knows how to proceed.
I'd like staff to also check on the licenses to make sure all vendors have current licenses, nothing is revoked or suspended, so that we are dealing with the same type of vendors.
Yeah, I believe that is part of already, as part of
Okay.
the process, so that's already considered as part of the recommendation. I think the request is for the actual number, and so we don't have that available, but we can provide that next time.
Yes, I would like to make sure that especially contractors' license have not expired and lawsuits. So is there a motion by any member of council regarding this action, this number?
So I'm sorry, what's the exact, the exact motion here?
I believe to continue the matter for further research by staff, and you might want to have it come back at the next meeting.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to, for staff to bring back the additional information with respect to the top 5 vendors, with respect to any pending lawsuits and the proper licensing credentials. Is that correct?
Second.
Okay.
And if we need an extension, that we're able to do that until we come back to our
A
council.
temporary extension.
We'll consider that. Does the maker of the motion accept that friendly amendment, if I just may say for the record?
Yes.
Okay.
Confirm.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. To continue the matter, please vote.
The motion is approved unanimously.
And that was for the next meeting, is that right, Mayor Pro Tem? You're asking the staff bring back
That's correct.
the item, the next
That's correct,
council
because
meeting.
we need to
Thank
make a decision.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I believe that completes the consent calendar. We will now move on to administrative reports, number 16. There are 2 administrative reports this evening. Number 16 is an introduction of an ordinance amending Chapter 1, disorderly conduct, etc., of Article 4, public welfare, morals, and policy, and Chapter 1, public parks, of the Article 10, parks, playgrounds, and recreation of the Downey Municipal Code related to loitering, camping, and obstructions of public right-of-way. This is under the purview of the city attorney, city prosecutor, that the city council introduce an ordinance of the city council of the city of Downey amending Chapter 1, disorderly conduct, etc., of Article 4, public welfare, morals, and policy, and Chapter 1, under public parks of Article 10, parks, playgrounds, and recreation of the Downey Municipal Code related to loitering, camping, and obstructions of public right-of-way. Assistant City Manager De Rojas, is there a staff report for item number 16?
Yes, Jim Eckert, our city prosecutor, will be providing a staff report.
Good evening, Mr. Eckhart.
Good evening. So we're here to discuss a proposed ordinance that's going to address camping and encroachments on the public right-of-way. And this is probably something that a lot of people have believe is something that's been a long time coming. The city, as well as a lot of jurisdictions, have kind of been under an assault of various things that have encroached upon our public right-of-way and have limited access to the public right-of-way by all of our members of the community for what those public rights-of-ways are actually intended for. The city of Downey, obviously, like other jurisdictions, has a vested interest in trying to protect those and ensure that all members of the community can actually utilize those public rights-of-way. The types of public rights-of-way that we're looking at include our sidewalks, our streets, our parks. They include our public facilities, and they also include, if we can just.
Okay.
But as we're fixing the PowerPoint presentation, it also includes our public bus stops and transit stations. In going through that, the city has actually had for a long time laws that actually prohibit camping in our public rights of ways and our public facilities that have included encroachments or prohibited encroachments within our public rights of way as well. But unfortunately, due to a couple of decisions by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, enforcement of these particular ordinances has been severely limited for the last couple of years. Luckily, and here we go. And specifically, those two cases that we've been dealing with are the Martin v. City of Boise and the Johnson v. City of Grants Pass cases, where the Ninth Circuit determined that the enforcement of what has been termed anti-camping ordinances or ordinances that prohibit camping on public rights of way is a violation of the Eighth Amendment of our United States Constitution with respect to cruel and unusual punishment, as those types of laws are enforced criminally against unhoused individuals. Recently, however, in June of 2024, the United States Supreme Court overturned the holding in Johnson's v. Grants Pass, and in essence also effectively overturned the holding in Martin v. Boise, indicating that these types of ordinances or this type of enforcement of ordinances does not in fact violate the Eighth Amendment. Additionally, in July of 2024, Governor Newsom signed Executive Order N-1-24, where he mandated that state agencies and encouraged local agencies to actually start dedicating time to clean up encampments around our jurisdictions in public places, and to prioritize those particular encampments that actually impact or threaten life, health, and safety, not only of our community in general, but also of those that are within those encampments. So as a result of these types of decisions, we are proposing an ordinance that is really trying to respond and enhance the laws that we currently have in order to address these types of situations. And again, we're dealing with camping and encroachments on our public rights of way. So specifically what the ordinance does that's before the City Council, it's being introduced tonight, is number one, it actually enhances and refines definitions that we have already within the Downey Municipal Code in order to conform to some of these judicial standards. Some of those definitions that we're looking at not only include expanding the definition of and being clearer about what constitutes public property, but also definitions about storing, definitions about abandoning property, definitions about camping and encampments themselves. And so we've clarified those definitions and enhanced them to ensure that they conform with the judicial decisions that have come down. Additionally, the ordinance is more explicit about prohibiting camping on our public property. And that's the goal, is to be very explicit in what we're trying to do. And so the current ordinance, or the proposed ordinance, would in fact prohibit camping on all forms of public property with minor exceptions. And those minor exceptions are, the city does have a permitting process to allow youth groups, for example, to obtain a camping permit to camp within parks. We're not deviating from that, and so that would still be available. The ordinance also prohibits the storage or abandonment of personal property on our public properties and our public rights of way. And again, this would include all areas where the public has ability to utilize, including those bus benches, our transit, for example, Downey Link. It would prohibit it within our sidewalks, our streets, and within our parks as well. Additionally, our ordinance would prohibit sitting, sleeping, or lying or storing personal property on public property where that activity, in fact, creates obstructions. And the idea here is not only to do a straight prohibition, but also to have it directly tied to obstructions of these rights of way, to allow, again, our members, all of our members of the community, to use those public properties, public facilities for their intended use. And lastly, the ordinance, by amending provisions of the regulations pertaining to our parks, also seeks to create uniformity within our municipal code to conform. So it's not just in dealing with it under our public safety sections of the municipal code, but also ensuring that our other provisions of the municipal code conform to these, again, these new judicial standards that have come about. The one thing about this is that, notwithstanding the fact that we're proposing this new ordinance, which would provide the city staff, our law enforcement, our code enforcement, public works, parks and rec, additional tools to be able to address the issues that are concerning our community right now with respect to limiting access to the public rights of way. This would not, in fact, impact the city's continued commitment to providing outreach and other services to our transient communities. And as a matter of fact, as the council is well aware, the city has recently executed an agreement with Kingdom Causes to continue to provide outreach services. And we are going through a recruiting campaign right now to recruit a homeless services manager who would also be overseeing this stuff. So the city still remains committed to assisting those that are in need of that type of services, while still trying to balance that with protecting our public rights of way to allow all members of our community to use them again for their intended purpose. So that's basically what's before the city council tonight, and I'm available obviously for any questions that the council may have.
Do any council members have any questions or comments? I will now entertain a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that one.
Thank you. Please vote.
Thank you.
The motion is approved unanimous.
Thank you. Thank you. Next item, number 17, is a discussion regarding hosting a Vietnam Veterans Memorial replica. That the City Council provide staff direction regarding hosting a Vietnam Veterans Memorial replica. Assistant City Manager De Rojas, is there a staff report for item number 17?
Yes, we have Ruby Bacon, Management Analyst, who will be providing the staff report.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council.
Good evening.
At the May 20th City Council meeting, City Council requested staff bring back a report to discuss options for hosting a Vietnam Veterans Memorial replica. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial is a national monument located in Washington, D.C. that honors members of the U.S. Armed Forces who served and died in the Vietnam War. The memorial is a black granite V-shaped wall inscribed with the names of the more than 58,000 service members killed or missing in action. A few pictures. Staff contacted 4 different Vietnam Veterans Memorial replica organizations for information on logistics, availability, and costs. The Antelope Valley Mobile Vietnam Memorial Wall is operated by the nonprofit Point Man Antelope Valley Ministry. The half-scale replica has traveled throughout Southern California, including Pico Rivera earlier at year for Memorial Day observance. The wall has been reserved for Memorial Day and Veterans Day 2025. The wall will be retired after 2025 and is not available for any additional dates. Next is the Wall That Heals, which is operated by the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, the nonprofit organization that founded the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. The main components are a 3/4 scale replica and a mobile education center. The memorial travels throughout the country and was recently displayed in Baldwin Park and Gardena this spring. Here are a few pictures. The memorial wall is to be open for viewing 24 hours per day from Thursday to Sunday. Merchandise sales are not permitted at the site. The site fee for hosting is $12,000. The tour season runs from mid-March through November. The application period for 2025 is open until September 30th, 2024. The organization is not able to confirm availability for 2025 as they are currently accepting and reviewing applications. The next organization is America's Freedom Tribute, which is operated by the American Veterans Traveling Tribute, a veteran-owned for-profit small business recently organized as a nonprofit. The main components of the memorial are a replica and the Costa Freedom Tribute. The wall replica comes in 2 sizes, an 80% replica to be displayed outdoors, or double-sided walls, which can be broken up and displayed outdoors or indoors. Here are a few photos for you. And those panels are the Cost of Freedom tribute. Some additional information on America's Freedom Tribute. The display schedule is at the discretion of the host. The site fee for hosting the 80% replica is $11,250, and the fee for the double-sided walls is $9,250. The host is required to provide hotel accommodations for staff. The organization also requires merchandise sales and use of donation boxes. If merchandise is not permitted, $2,000 will be added to the total fee. The tour season is year-round, and applications are accepted on an ongoing basis. Both replicas are currently available for Vietnam War Veterans Day in 2025. The outside wall is also available for Veterans Day 2025. Both replicas have been reserved for Memorial Day by other agencies. And lastly, we have the Vietnam Traveling Wall, which is operated by the Vietnam and All Veterans of Brevard, a nonprofit organization based in Florida, and they've advised that the wall does not travel to the Western United States. So here is a summary of the 3 available walls for your reference. Staff has confirmed with the Parks and Recreation Department that all 3 available walls could be hosted at city parks. Furman Park would be available for Veterans Day 2025, and Discovery Park would be available for Vietnam War Veterans Day, which is in March, and Memorial Day 2025. This concludes my report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, do any council members have any questions or comments?
Well, I'd like to start because I had brought this to the attention. I want to thank my residents, Mr. Squire, Mr. Heyman. They are true advocates for our military, and we need to keep the knowledge of the military for our young people. This is something that I personally saw in Pico Rivera. Unfortunately, that's the Antelope Valley Mobile Vietnam Wall. It was quite large. It was quite impressive. It was on a ball field. I also liked the fact that they want volunteers. They want 50 to 100 volunteers. Here's where we can bring in our service clubs, our youth, our schools, the adults, the veterans. Talk about coming together for an entire weekend. And in the past, we've just had a celebration for a couple hours, maybe at a location for the veterans for different Veterans Day, Memorial Day. But this is a full-on weekend where we will actually be meeting some of the veterans here in our city, surrounding areas. I think it's a really good healing process for family, bringing our community together, and I'm really excited that we may have the opportunity to do this. And I would like to see, in my personal opinion, in speaking with the others and representatives here from our veterans, the wall that heals seems to be one that's fitting, that was similar to Antelope Valley in size. I like that it is, what was the size on here? It's 7.5 feet high. It's quite impressive when you see that, when you walk into the area. It was, maybe some of you also went to Pico Rivera. I liked also that they have this education center. They have a mobile education center with a trailer. Again, that will engage some of the young people who are unaware of the decades and different wars that we've had between the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and keep that legacy alive. And also when it comes to location here on the back, centrally within our city that will attract more people. We do get a lot of car traffic, foot traffic around Furman Park. Discovery is larger, but in a sense, I don't know if there's that much traffic that would see it. I can see somebody driving by and saying, what is that? They can see the activity to bring it. We want people coming. We can do social media to promote it and such, but that would be my opinion, is to bring it into Furman Park if Park and Rec feels there's space and availability from fields and such. And I'll wait to hear from my colleagues on other comments as well. Has high visibility.
Thank you, Ruby. Can we go back to the slide that shows a side-by-side comparison?
Of the wall that heals, or the America's Freedom Tribute, which is the other option we have available. So, so again, the wall that heals, it has two components, right? The memorial, the replica of the wall, as well as the 53-foot education center.
There was a slide that showed the costs.
Oh, I'm sorry, the comparison table or chart. Yes, here you go.
Thank you.
Couple thousand. Which one's the one that Pico received?
The Antelope Valley wall, which is
And that
which is being retired in
That's-
2025.
Oh, it's
So
gonna be
it's
retired.
not on the
It's not.
chart because it's not available.
I
So
spoke-
these are just the available walls.
When I spoke with the lady that I met there to get the information, she says it's a lot of work for them, and they didn't have very many members anymore that could help, and that's why they just had to retire it.
Correct, they're older members and they're retiring
Nothing's
the
wrong
wall.
with older, but. You know.
But yeah.
Do they want to give it
Wiser.
to us? If they're going to retire it, are they looking, what are
I
they looking
think
to
it
do with
also, it needs to be refurbished. So in addition to the organization not being able to have the manpower, I think it also needs refurbishment. So that's why it's being retired.
Could I ask our Park and Rec director, where would you think you'd put it? On one of the fields at Furman Park, or in the front or the back side?
It would depend on the time of year we did it. If you remember Pico Rivera as well as Baldwin Park, I visited both of them. It's a solemn experience, so you shut down the entire park for those weekends. So we would have, if it were at Furman, we would want to do it, if we got it, more towards fall ball, like in November, where there would still be an impact, but we would shut down all the baseball fields. So we would have room for the trailer and the field, but we're looking at more like in the middle section, closer to Reeves, kind of where we do concerts in the park, just beyond the main shelter. And that's why if we got it in March, Discovery would be the better option for us, only because we have ample parking for people. We could put the trailer still on the driveway and then use both baseball fields if we needed to.
Mm-hmm. And with Furman, when you said it's more of a personal experience, then you might not have the picnic shelters be able to be rented.
We would shut down everything. We would not probably allow the walking trail, any baseball groups, or the playground in that area. Because again, if you visited, Pico Rivera actually shut down their playground as well.
Correct.
During the different ceremonies that happen throughout the 24 hours, there's just different times there that you might not want some of that other activity going on.
At Discovery, I think you could see the full impact a little better from where you would be standing by that snack shack, different than Furman. Furman, I think it might be blocked, so maybe that's a better decision.
Definitely. I definitely think it's a destination site, although I do know that, cars driving by might be attracted a little bit more to Furman. I think if we were to get this, the social media presence, our local nonprofit groups in the city, it would be a destination piece that people would visit regardless of kind of where we put it.
And get it out to the schools as well, during that time.
Correct.
It's not summer or anything like that. So, okay, thank you.
Any other council members have questions or comments? I will now entertain a motion. Any motions on the item?
I have one more question. The Americans Traveling Tributes, it's $9,250, but the cost will be $9,700. Where's that difference?
The site fee for the wall itself is $9,250.
Okay.
But then when you add the hotel fees of $450 and then $2,000 if we determine or make the determination that we do not want merchandise sales taking place, then the cost is $11,700 if you incorporate the hotel fees and the $2,000 added fees.
That's if we do include it, correct? And that's if you can show the mural, which one would that be?
Do you want me to, the photo?
It'll be that one.
So the double-sided walls on the right side, correct, the 6 foot by 89 foot, that's the $9,200.50 fee. And again, if you add the $450 for the hotel accommodations, and then $2,000 if we determine not to sell merchandise on site, the total fee would be $11,700.
And how long does it stay?
Minimum 2 days. It's up to our discretion, but they recommend a minimum of 2 days. because of the work entailed in setting up and taking down.
And the cost will just remain the same?
Correct.
Can I ask which fund this might come from? Would it be coming from a, like where we have our IFF and our Havana Nights, that type of a fund? Or is it, where might the funding come for this?
So depending on what day is selected, it would be included as part of the budget process. So if it's for the following Veterans Day next year, that would be included as part of the budget process.
I see.
If we determine that the other two dates for Vietnam Memorial or for or Memorial Day, then we would bring that back to City Council for approval once we enter into that contract with them.
So if we wanted to have it for 2025, we have to get this application in by September 30th, which is very quick.
That is correct. We have to get it in by this end of
And
this
so
week.
we anticipate that we would have some funding in that particular.
Well, we would submit it, and then they would let us know if we're even selected. I believe we have to give 3 dates.
Correct.
And they'll let us know if one of those dates are selected, and from there, then we would know if we can enter into some sort of a contract and then appropriate the monies at that time.
Research further for funding. All right. Well, I'd like to, if there's other choices that you see, I would like to recommend and try that we submit an application for the Wall That Heals. We can determine location later, but see if we would be selected, and then what the dates would be available. I think it would be very fitting to have something like this for 3 days, not just a 4-hour event. This is a 3-day weekend honoring our veterans.
I just had a quick question on the Wall That Heals. It would be Thursday through Sunday?
Yes, they're very specific. They request or require that we display the wall from Thursday through Sunday.
And do they provide security to make sure that there's no defacing or?
We are responsible for
We're
security.
responsible for that? So we would, it would be security?
That's up to
Okay.
us, whether or not it'd be volunteers. We contract out for security, but we are responsible for providing security for the memorials.
Understood. Thank you.
And could I also have a clarification on the name? I know it was mentioned earlier in comments that it should be the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall Replica, but I understood from staff that it really is called the Vietnam's Veteran Memorial?
Correct, that is the
Replica.
official name.
And it is a wall or other things?
Correct.
Okay, so this is correct as written in here?
Correct.
Okay,
And then
thank you.
since it's, it does have other components that have been added since its dedication, but it is the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and the wall is a component of the memorial.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I'll second your motion, Dorothy.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we want to repeat the motion just for clarity?
I move that we submit an application to the Wall That Heals to be accepted for their application, and once approved, then we will be able to select a date which conforms best with our fields and our activity that we have in the parks.
Thank you. And we have a second, so let's vote.
The motion is approved unanimously.
And now it is time for adjournment. The City Council meeting is now adjourned in memory of Army Private First Class Matthew Perez, 20 years old, of Whittier, California, assigned to the 3rd Brigade Combat Team, 82nd Airborne Division, who succumbed to his injuries sustained during a training accident at Joint Readiness Training Center in Fort Johnson, Louisiana. A moment of silence in his memory. Thank you. The meeting is now adjourned.